really about creating IT services as the culture. Just to frame the question, how do you take a framework such as ITIL and build it into your DNA? Pretty heavy question. How do you ensure that it's truly embraced and adopted? Now, within that question, you might think about, if you want, you can talk about how do you get support from your leadership and the team. Does education play a part within in enabling that DNA? And is technology enabling any of that today, or what's your experience on that?
So very interesting. I come to an interesting perspective with with Palm Beach State College, because a lot of the institution is already asking for this. They're kind of hungry for the ITSM framework, although they don't know that's what they're asking for. But the demand management issue at the college is such widespread that our customer relationship and marketing department, our facilities folks, pretty much our student affairs folks, they're all asking for the same kinds of things. And so I've already spoken about change management and how important that was internally for the IT department. But being able to capture the demand college-wide through a ticketing system, and then manage the work that's being done on those things is very important. One of the card system within Team Dynamics or Kanban or any of those tools that people can see what they're doing for a living, and that's part of the framework, showing not just how to handle the demand coming in, but also how much work is being put into these ideas, because a lot of times we don't really realize how much effort it takes. A big part of what we have to do, not only for service management, but project management, is give estimates about how much time we feel certain things will take for us to accomplish it. Keeping track of those things with a tool like Team Dynamics and keeping track of work, and we talked earlier about time management. We call it work management. We don't want to know how much time you took for lunch, or how much time you took to go to take a break, or went to the bathroom, or those kinds of things. We're not interested in that. We want to know time on task for tickets, and time on task for regular work that you're doing, and time on task for project tasks. So it's a matter of the demand management and also understanding how much effort we're putting into those things.
Thomas, you want to weigh in on that, please?
Yeah, basically we think it's rather interesting when you come back and look at this, because we're not, different people are at different levels of understanding this. And, I read so many magazines and articles and so on it. I guess the way we've approached it, and this is, thank you, this is kind of probably because I've got some very seasoned long-term folks on my leadership team, Sandra, Shannon, and Mary, go ahead. They have looked at this as a process, and I really value that they've done that, because while each of them has looked at the service management from their own area, for example, customer service and the service catalog and our academic support, technology support, and how they work with the Education Technology Center, and our administrative systems director, and how she deals with a whole number of things that they deal with. But the thing about it is they've looked at it longitudinally, and we've come to the conclusion that we really need to look not just within IS, but outside of IS. So one of the things we did at the college was bring access control into IS so that we would start to make the onboarding process a lot easier. And when you start to look at those processes, you find a lot of non-value added steps in there. So it's kind of broadened my mind a little bit in terms of how we apply the service management modules and service management processes, but it's only beginning to kind of show its value, but I'm sure that within the next year we'll see some of those synergies and some of those outcomes that we'll be able to illustrate.
Thank you. Param, how about yourself?
So at Bucknell, so we have on the service side, actually my colleague Steve O'Hare, who's the Director of Technology Services, he's here. So his portfolio is technology support, classroom and event support, and equipment desk. And I think really kind of looking much more holistically rather than looking at these 4 different silos, but how do we kind of combine from a service perspective, how do we kind of bring things together, both from an assessment, from a skill set perspective. And I think a great example of this, we were just talking at dinner last night, so we have somebody retiring on one of the teams, and we've decided not to fill that position because of the visibility that we have into the data of all the services that we're providing to the campus, which we didn't have before we implemented Team Dynamics. So I think that's an example of kind of really kind of showing the value of now that we have all the information that we need, what are some of the cross-training opportunities between these 4 teams? How do we make sure that everybody's kind of engaged when there's a downtime for one team? How can they kind of facilitate something on the other side? I think so. That's now we kind of getting to that point into the staffing decisions as well. Looking at okay, how do we make sure that I have to say we have a fantastic service organization on campus, and I'm really proud to be part of that team. But now kind of really looking at how do we kind of make sure that we're combining the different functions in ways that we hadn't done before. And I think because of the visibility to the data that we are able to kind of make some of those decisions now.
Thank you.
At Prince George's, about a year ago, we sent a core group of people to ITIL Foundations training. We have about 6 or 8 people from key support units inside of our organization who are ITIL Foundation certified, and that was the start of it. And from that, we started looking at different processes and deciding in which order we wanted to implement which module, and what is the low-hanging fruit that we could take away and make sort of immediate impact for our end users on our campus. And what we quickly realized is, without a tool, it really became difficult for the tech team to translate. So for example, we've been talking about service catalog. Without a tool to implement a service catalog, you can spend all of your time thinking about the service catalog, but then it's going to take you 10 times longer to figure out how would you take that and present it to the community. Same thing with some of the incident and problem management. We had established some really nice processes around how we wanted to implement and deal with incidents and intake of those, but the tools that we had in place didn't really support that. And so for us, we put a pause on ITIL, some of it, to really step back and say, until we have a good tool that can really allow us, once we establish those processes and establish the priority at which we want to implement service management, until we have a tool that would allow us to do that really easily, we would be in essence creating mini projects of trying to establish tools and ways in which we would bring some of these processes to life. So that's really how we got to here, is because we really were looking for a tool that allowed us, once we decided how we wanted to implement, that it was sort of ready-made and really able to just say, okay, now we're ready to do this, and the tool was sort of sitting and waiting. I remember in ITIL's Foundations training, which I completed as well, and at the end of every of the little modules and the process, invariably someone on my team would raise their hand and say, so what tool do you recommend for that? And like the ITIL framework, and I think that's probably why it is an internationally adopted tool or a catalog, is because it isn't prescriptive. You can use any solution you want, which makes it a great sort of framework, but then we want a tool makes it easier when you're really trying to implement it. So that was sort of where, for us, we're meeting a tool that would help us. I think we would be able to make such greater strides with a tool trying to implement ITIL. So I'm excited about the possibility of how we can sort of get over the hurdle and not have to spend our time now thinking about who's going to develop the service catalog platform, who's going to develop the configuration management platform, and that really we can have all of that in a tool, which is really exciting.
Thank you so much, and Ray, please.
Well, at Bridgewater State University, we have established a shared vision for our IT team, and it's to provide innovative technology services, solutions, and outcomes inspired, and partnership with you. And it's a multi-loaded sort of shared vision. It's a vision of the future. We need to achieve it. We need to work towards it. And you see the word partnership in there. You see the word outcomes in there. You see the word inspired as part of that vision of the future. And for us, we have just started our journey for IT service management because of that shared vision. We had to take care of project management first, and we've made some great strides in that area. And now we're starting the journey of IT service management. We're similarly, with all my peers up here, into ITIL. You know, we're doing the training, we're starting to socialize the concept of it. And for us, it's all about moving from, the order taker, the typical order taker, just supporting, being a support role, to wanting to move to a services organization, services, and then moving and becoming ultimately a business partner. And so it's definitely a journey. We just started about 9 months ago, and we're happy that we've started that journey. And for us, it's going to be interesting because you talked about service catalogs. And my biggest fear is, you put that service catalog up there, and will somebody use it or not, And I'm wondering if you have to provide a cash incentive for every time someone submits a ticket through there. 10 cents for every ticket you put in, and at the end of the year, we'll give you a kickback, But we're excited to start the journey, and many of you in the audience I know are further along than us, and many of my peers here are further along as well. So hopefully we'll have opportunities to collaborate together and partner with Team Dynamics on it as well, and training is important, and, that's what we've been doing.
Please go ahead, yeah.
Yeah, so just to add a little bit on to what I spoke about and to what we've discussed, it's taking the service management system and turning it from what has typically been an IT management, ticket management system to a customer-based system where it's something that they want to take hold of and actually use the service catalog and tell us. We were discussing at lunch how would we do it, and one of the tools in Team Dynamics is the portal, the client portal, and how do we best take advantage of that? And we were discussing the fact that using a search tool at the very top and not giving them the help desk phone number at the beginning and the help desk email at the beginning, but a search bar about what is it that you need from us, or what is it you're looking for us to do for you, and then maybe the service catalog, and then finally in very small print at the bottom, the phone number for the help desk.
Right.